1 year. Wow. Can you believe that we're here?
It's wild because I remember us sitting in the peer space that we rented out for an afternoon brainstorm sesh to like talk about how to bring the podcast to life.
And here we are.
Here we are.
Wow.
On the big screen.
It's so fun. First of all, welcome Emily back to the podcast. This is Emily, my assistant, now my marketing operation coordinator. She's moving up.
Sounds so fancy.
I'm so grateful for Emily. I say this every time you're on, and hopefully you know to your face that I just appreciate you and love you. I think you're an incredible human being. Mm-hmm. And I swear to you guys, this podcast would not be a thing without this beautiful human right here. So thank you again for being here.
Always.
I had this, thought in my mind to have my own podcast. I've had a podcast before. It was with a friend of mine, and it was a business podcast, and it ended up phasing out. It was great, but it kind of faded away. And then I had this thought in my mind to have my own podcast, but it just felt so overwhelming. It just felt like this huge thing. And here comes in Emily to help work with me into creating this. But we did. I actually rented out a space at Peer Space because I was like, you can come to my house or we can go to like a coffee shop. But I just wanted a space to like feel creative. And I remember it, and I was looking at that video the other day that it's been a year since we filmed that and had this launch. And I was like, let's do it in January. And you were like, let's do it in October. And I was like, that's scary. And here we are. And it's been a year, and we're over 50 plus episodes at this point. Every single week we've been consistent with it. And I'm just so thankful to be here. I'm thankful to keep growing the podcast. It's just been so much fun for me as a host, but also just as a human being. I feel like I've learned so much about myself. So again, thank you for being a part of it and being here.
Of course. It's been so fun to watch you like really bring it to life because you had the idea and you had the drive and everything there. You just needed like a little bit of assistance really like getting it out there. And it's been so cool to watch the evolution and get to listen to like the interviews too behind the scenes and just see like these cool conversations and people that you get to introduce to your community. Mm-hmm. So it's just really cool to see someone like, just provide such a resource to others, by doing the work and interviewing and hosting the show. So it's been fun.
And she says she's like a little piece of it, you guys, but she is the one that runs the show. I am just the pretty face in front of the camera. She helps me with everything. And so this is the woman behind it. So with this, 1 year of episodes, we're going to do a little giveaway. And I love when I hear from you guys when they're really great 5-star 10-star reviews only, please. Thank you. So if you leave a review on Apple Podcasts, you're going to be in the running towards winning a brand new set of over-the-ear, I heard those are cool with Gen X now, headphones. You are in the running. All you have to do is write a review, screenshot it, and then we'll send it to emily@terralawfair.com. We'll put all that in the show notes, but give me 5+ stars. Like if you can give me 10 stars, that'd be really great too.
Yeah, leave a double review.
Double review.
You get double entry.
Double entry is actually allowed. I don't know if they take me down for saying that, but
I mean, if you have like a partner's email, I don't know.
Reviews help this show grow so much, and it's so amazing to have those on there because then we can get really a lot more incredible guests. We can potentially work with some more brands, and it helps me bring this to life in a bigger and broader way. So please write the review, screenshot it, and I'd love to have you win a really awesome new pair of headphones.
Yeah. Like what a gift that would be.
What a gift.
Fun little surprise.
You can actually listen to this podcast in those over-the-ear headphones.
And think of it every time you listen.
Did I say Gen X? I meant Gen Z.
Yeah, I didn't know what I'm behind on the times, but I was like, what's Gen X?
I just realized I said that. I was like, oh my God, Gen X is actually older than me. You're Gen Z.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
I don't know. I'm confused as millennials nowadays.
I'm a millennial. She is younger than me. But I heard Jared and I were talking about this earlier, like the higher socks are really in.
Yeah.
But for like the younger crew. So we started wearing them because we want to be trendy again.
Yeah.
The over-the-ear headphones are the same.
I guess. I honestly don't know. I feel like you are more trendy than I am.
What? I am not.
Honestly, I think you kind of are. I just spend all my time with millennials.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm like a mini millennial in a Gen Z body.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I really am apologizing that I said Gen X because that was incorrect. The Gen Zers. Wow, they're going to come after me. Okay, so yeah, like we're gonna do a little listener Q&A. We're just gonna like kind of bounce back and forth. We'll make this a shorty and just have some fun chatting a little bit.
Well, speaking of, so we have the 1 year anniversary of the podcast.
Yeah.
And funny enough,
So funny.
we're moving into launching like another huge thing
Yeah.
very soon.
We could probably call it a very broad thing. What do you think about that?
I would say so. It's
Yeah.
very broad and
It's very
all that it
broad.
offers.
By the time this actually launches, you will all understand that the name of my app is called Broads. And Broads has a dual try meaning. It has a lot of different meanings to it. I actually worked with a person to help name the app right when I first started. Looking into the app, I had TL Method before. TL Method was my monthly subscription. I just wanted it to get away from like the Tara LaFerrara method because it's going to be so much broader, lack of a better term, than myself. Like it's going to be so much bigger and more expansive. And I just wanted people to feel, women to feel inspired and motivated and so strong in themselves and their body. And so I hired this woman to come on to help me name this app. And so we went back and forth. We had a couple of meetings, and this was literally the first name she gave me. I remember sending you the doc, and there were 6 names, and this was the first one on there. And I saw it, and I was like, oh my God. Like at first, I like loved it, and then I immediately was like, wait, okay, I got to see the rest of them because it didn't land to me the way it lands now. And when I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. But then I just like kind of went through them, and I didn't feel. And I was like, remember the other ones? There was Beastie.
Yeah, it was
Buffy. There was a couple other ones on there that I was like, oh yeah, this one could kind of. And then so I was like, all right, I love these couple that we had. And then she sent another round through, and I just like, okay, maybe this one. There was one called Now You. That one I really loved that because I loved the way you were feeling like, oh, it was then and now you're you. But then I was like, that's not, nah. And then we went into like Nowadays. And I was like, oh, this one kind of feels like cool. And then Teddy said it sounded like a cocktail bar. So we were like, no.
Fair.
And then I kept looking at Broads. And then I had it on my refrigerator, and I had it over here, and it was on my phone, and I like saw it everywhere. And then every time I was like talking to someone new, they'd be like, oh yeah, it was like this broad thing. And I was like, oh my God.
It's a sign.
It's a sign. Cause like growing up, or like my mom used to be like, oh yeah, that broad over there. And it felt negative. And now we are taking that shit back. We are strong ass women. We're taking up space. And like the whole term of being broader is, standing up for yourselves and believing in yourselves. And so this app is going to make you feel that way. It's going to give you the opportunity to show up as you are in this big, strong, badass version of yourself. So fuck, it feels so good to say this out loud. But yeah, at this point right now, when this podcast goes live, we are 6 weeks out from the launch of the app, and it's super exciting.
It was kind of hard because at that point, like nothing else had been built.
Yeah.
So for me, I was trying to like give insights, but I was like, well, I don't really know what like the spirit of this thing is yet. Like what's the energy behind it? And now as I've watched everything get built out, I'm just like, oh my God, like Broads is the perfect name for it. It's like something that you'd be creating in the sense. And like the branding and all of it is so perfect. I just like
the branding.
I get excited. I like talk to my friends about it. And I don't give things away, but I'm just like, it's so cool to like see it be built behind the scenes. And like, I feel like it's coming along so like perfectly for something of your own creation.
It's just like, I knew that it needed to innovate. I knew that it needed to change. And you'll hear from past guests that I've interviewed today, which will come out, is that we needed to lean into it. And it just, each piece of this process has been so overwhelming and so daunting, but so cool to like lean into. And I'm just super stoked. Like I can't wait for everyone to see it, because I think they're gonna feel maybe not as strongly and powerfully as I do about my baby that's abroad. But I want you to, get into the app and be like, oh fuck yeah, I'm abroad. So yeah, that's where we're at.
How long have you like wanted to have an app? Like, has this been something you've always wanted to do, or was it a more recent kind of like dream and diver that you picked up?
I've had a web app, the TL Method, for 6 years, and I always wanted an app in the App Store, but I didn't really realize how much of a process it was financially and, how long it would all take. And so I've wanted it since probably the beginning, but I just didn't think it was like really feasible. And really, I like the past probably 2 years, I was like, okay, I'm really leaning into this. But it was really when I hired a business coach her name's Nora. And she was like, where are we going? Because I was very uncertain. Last fall, I was like, which way am I taking this? And she really helped me lean into, hopefully Nora, you'll listen to this, Nora DeKaiser. She really helped me lean into this app build and creating this new brand of doing this. And I would say it's been probably a year since that all really began and like the actual process of the development and all that started.
So branding talk aside, what do people like actually get out of Broads as an overall app?
I love this because Broads you can take it two ways. Broads is a monthly strength and mobility program that anyone can do. And everyone sees the same workout, but you can personalize it. So you can do 2 times, 3 times, or 4 times a week. And then you can also do gym versus homes. And you can easily kind of switch out where you want to be. But all the programs are monthly and they're all progressive in focus. So you will progress on a specific muscle group and mobility every single month. The first month is actually squats and pull-ups. And for the mobility focus, working hips and shoulders. And so the goal is to progress that over time. And then we work on 3-month blocks. So the first month will be focused on squat and pull up. Then we'll focus on more of a unilateral. And then the last one will focus on like the power of the movements so we can kind of get stronger over time. But every month is a different focus so that you are make sure that you progress over time. But then outside of that, Broads Club is the monthly version. There's also Broads Champion and Broads Coach. And that is where you will have a personal trainer. You can have a customized program for you. And there's also habits and goals that you can put in there. There's a lot of tracking capabilities. And you'll be able to message with a coach directly, send videos, voice notes, and texts as well.
That's dope. I'm so excited for
Yeah.
It's like just like the perfect fusion of everything you might want within one app.
Yeah.
And then you can choose what path you want to take.
Exactly. And I like the whole point of Broads is that you get to do the user experience. You get to be on your user journey. So maybe you want to work with a personal trainer for a few months and then you can kind of go back and jump back into Broads Club and you can kind of move your way based on where you're at in your life. If you need a little bit more accountability or a little bit more personalization, you can jump into Broads Coach or Champion and then you can jump back in Broads Club. But either way, you're a tough broad.
Yes, you are. And what do you feel like you've learned about yourself in that process? Like over this past year, like with all of the highs and the lows and everything that's come up in this like app building process, have you like learned anything new about yourself or the way you work or communicate with others? Because I personally feel like whenever you take on a new business idea or you launch something new, you always learn as much about yourself as you do about the idea or the project or the item that you're launching as well. So like, what have you been learning about yourself over this year of wildness?
Yeah, I think it's honestly that I can't do it alone. And that was even like with this podcast and like hiring you and you helping me get this off the ground. Like this app is such a huge project that I needed to bring on more teammates and grow this into something that it could potentially be. And I couldn't do that by myself. And I couldn't keep sustainably doing and working with as many clients as I had been. It just like there was this brick wall in front of me and I couldn't, move past it. I couldn't push it by myself. I had to get a team to ladder all of us up to get over there together. And I think I would say this to you and anyone that I like really bring on is I wish I brought you guys on sooner. I wish I like believed that I could be this like expansive business without me being like, I'm an independent woman, solopreneur. I could do this all myself. Like you just can't. And you can maybe, but like in not the sense that we're trying to create. And so I think asking for help earlier, probably in all things, would be probably the biggest lesson that I've learned is that I'm good at things, but I'm better at things with other people.
100%. I mean, I feel like so many of us, it's that saying of just because you can doesn't mean you should, you know?
I love
and
that. Yeah.
I've seen that in so many areas of life, whether it's work and business or, it's my training or my health, whatever it is, right? Like, yes, I can kind of like piece things together and kind of do it on my own. But if I can just ask for help and accept help and support, whatever it is, like it just makes the entire process so much more flowing and maybe easy, and it allows you to breathe a bit easier at the end of the day, and it just makes it go better overall. So I love that you came to that conclusion, and you've built such a like cool team around you, both with hires and with having, like Teddy, and I'm sure you have like friends that support you in ways too. So it's like a good blend of it all.
God, Teddy's been with me since day one. We've been together 10 years in December. And probably our first 3 months together, I was on Instagram, but I wasn't like on Instagram like I am today. I would just like shoot photos of me like doing handstands. And like 3 months into our relationship, he was my photographer. And then he was like my photographer for my entire life, right? Like you go back 10 years and see me doing a handstand in front of like graffiti or street art or something, it was him. And he's been along this process the entire time. And I've like, I pay him very small amounts, but like he's just been like the biggest support, and I'm just so thankful for him. And he doesn't listen to every episode, but I hope he listens to this one because I love him with all my heart and my being. And he's just been so incredible through this journey of me like being so stressed and so overwhelmed, but like has helped me with so much. I mean, he shot every exercise. You guys, we have almost 2,000 exercises in this program. It's a monthly strength and mobility program, and we have gym and home, and there's 2, 3, 4 times a week. So there's so many options, and there's so many different pieces of equipment. He shot all of them in our garage and late night at the gym. He's edited all of them. He's created them into GIFs. He's uploaded them. Like this guy has done so much, and like if I were to pay someone to do that, it would be thousands of thousands, And so the time and effort and support he's just given me and my team has just been like so incredible. So I appreciate him so much.
He's a good one. You got a good one there.
Yeah.
But how do you guys like navigate that dynamic where you're working together and you're also in relationship together, and whether that's like does work stuff ever get brought into the home life, and then like how do you navigate that all, and even when it comes to communicating and saying what needs done when? Because I don't know, I've just like thought about that at times. Like that's a whole new level within relationship, is when you bring a work dynamic into it too. So how has that been for you guys, recently and even in the past? Because I know like he's always kind of helped with photography stuff. So
yes, this is a great question because it definitely has ebbed and flowed. In this bigger project, we have not weekly, bi-weekly meetings. So every other Friday we meet and say, where are you at? How far can we get? Like, we need this by this date. Like, how can I make this happen? Before that, it was like he's on a small retainer for like videos and photos. So we'd have one photo shoot a month, and we would just like talk to each other on like, what is the date? Here's the hour. Here are the photos I need. He gives them to me within a week. Outside of that, he helps me with some videos. Like I'll be like, hey, I want to shoot this like Instagram video or something. If it's tight turnaround, that's on me. That's my fault. I cannot be mad at him for like the tight turnaround. I have to give him at least like a week or so. Mm-hmm. In the beginning, it was like, hey, can you get me this? Hey, can you give me, like, I would just like, I would overdo it. And I'm sorry, babe, if you're listening. But now we have like this schedule. I like put him into our project management. He's in ClickUp now. Like he was in Asana before. And we have like, it's more structured. Outside of that kind of stuff that he does for me, I ask him questions about business all the time, but I will literally specifically say, hey, we say this to each other, and he can say this to me too with his full-time job, because he does have a full-time job. I say, I have something I want to run by you, and I either want advice or I just want to vent to you. Mm. And I'll say, blah, 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 this happened. And then he'll stop and be like, are you sure you want to hear my advice? Or are you sure you want me to respond? And I'll be like, yes or no. And we have that kind of like on and off switch that we can do. If I just want to vent, he'll just like be there for a listening ear, and that be done. Mm-hmm. But I really try and stick to the perimeter of a 9 to 5. Like, I mean, like you said, we work from home. He helps me with my business. We eat almost every meal together. We travel together. Like, we're always together. And so like our lunchtime or like a coffee break we take in the afternoon or something are those times that we talk about like business. But outside of that, I'm like, I'm not going to take it to Red Ash on a Friday night at 7 p.m. Yeah. Which like
fire Red Ash on a Friday?
I actually have
Craving it now.
I love Red Ash so much, but we never go on Fridays because there's no pretty weather.
Yeah, that's gonna be booked months in advance. But that's very inspiring and like fun to hear. I think because similarly, it's so funny. I have been helping like a few friends, whether it was like meal prep or like small things here and there, right? And then we'd like get together to hang out on like a Thursday night, and things would get brought up about work. And I was like, I don't like this. Like, I kind of want to keep it within that like 9 to 5 parameter.
Yeah.
And so I just set those like boundaries. But it's been coming up a lot lately of just like seeing these really neat couple dynamics where they work together as well. And I just can imagine it takes a lot of like the communication and just the way you guys phrase it. So I think that's such a like beautiful way to go about it, especially with a project as big as this one, because that's just like so much there.
I think too with you, like even actually we were friends before you really started working with me, and like I remember going on some hikes with you, and I was like, I kind of want this like friendship to still be like a thing, and I don't want it to be weird. So if there was some sort of communication, like even with the friends you're talking about that you're like working with, you could be like, hey, like if you want, here's my hourly rate for this. Yeah. Just like as a joking matter. Yeah. Or you could say like, hey, like I don't, let's talk about that like next time I see you or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I do feel like that can be it can be a dynamic change, and it can be a place where you butt heads. I was talking earlier about the podcast I had with a friend of mine. Then she also worked with me. Then it was like way too close, and we got to a point where we needed a break, obviously, from each other. But I think if you're really over communicative of like where you're at and those boundaries that you set, they will respect it. And remember, if they don't respect those, that's on them.
Yeah. Something I've been learning as well is just like, there's no such thing as like over communicating, I mean, maybe to an extent where it's just like, hey, shut the fuck up. I've heard this 5 times. But like, it's just the more and more you can communicate and express like where you're at or what you're trying to explain or move through, just like the better it is. Whether that's in friendship or business or general relationship or like whatever it is. So I feel like that communication part's just like the key for it.
Yeah. I think you can even use that like, do you want advice or do you want me to just listen with friends?
I really like that too.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's like, I don't want advice. I just want to let it rip and like get this out, you know? And so I feel like that's a really good little like switch there.
Yeah. If you like start the conversation with that, or if the other person asks that, that's a good one. Here's another thing that we started doing that I think might be helpful for relationship, but also maybe a friend if you, go out to dinner a lot. If they ask you to go out to dinner and you're like, I don't know, what do you think? And you kind of go back and forth. If I say to you, dealer's choice, you have to choose.
I love that. You did that to me yesterday.
Did I?
I was like, do you have a subject line in mind for this email?
Oh, I
did. You're like, dealer's choice? I was like, perfect. Because I already put like a temporary one in. I was like, cool. I love that because that is one of my biggest things is like when we're going back and like with friends, and it's like, you choose. No, like I just like fucking choose, you know? Dealer's choice. I love that.
Yeah. Especially with going out to dinner. It's like so annoying because they know if I ask you, I know, like, just like you already had the subject line. You already had it there.
Yeah.
You could have been like, well, I mean, what you did was perfectly fine, but it was like, you already had it. We already had it. I know that I want Red Ash now. Like, that's the one I want. But like, well, what do you want? No, fucking dealer's choice.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Dealer's choice.
So there you go.
Gonna use that more often. Okay. Well, shifting into a slight pivot here with one of the listener questions was how to stay motivated. And they were sort of alluding, when you're having like lots of life things come up, right? Maybe you're moving through a period of like grief or depression or just general lack of motivation. And I'm sure there have been times when it's been like so busy and crazy with the app development and building where, maybe your schedule was just out of sorts. So what do you have to say about like staying motivated or feeling motivation and how to navigate that when life is busy or there's new things coming up or there's just like a lot on your plate?
Do we want to take this motivation to like work out or just like motivation in general? Because I'm going to tell you that I do not need motivation to work out.
I was just going to say, I actually feel like those are two very separate things.
They're very different. They're very different. I could have literally no motivation in the world and I'm still going to get up and get work out. Because a workout to me is like, it's always going to make me feel good after, but I always like really enjoy just the process of moving my body. And that workout could be a walk or like it could be a I'm not going to say run because I don't run. It could
I'm
be
a runner.
you're a run. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw you on the trail this morning.
Yes.
It could be a little thing in the gym. It could be mobility. It could be like a baller workout, whatever. I don't need motivation to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I need motivation to do some like work things or some organizational type things or some things that like are actually like a lot more mundane. For example, like we're working on a lot of things with this project that are just like, oh, I have to like rewrite the month notes on all of these programs that I've already created. I'm like, God, I've been like dragging my feet on that. And so like that to me is something that I need actual motivation for. But for this instance, specifically for big life events or grieving a loss is a huge, like depression, these are huge topics that I personally don't have a lot of experience in. So I don't want to downplay any of that as they are very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes into these massive like life changes like this, it's like you have to take care of you first and foremost. And does that mean you just like getting up and having water and making sure that you're fed and making sure that you're getting enough sleep? Awesome. If you go into work, like taking some time off of work before you get into this, get back into it. Great. I would say like take the fitness out of it and take care of this first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like your heart and your mind before anything else. So those are really big things.
Yeah.
If we're like taking it into like, how do I keep motivation for these other things? I do this small, I kind of trick myself a little bit, and I'd love to hear what you have to say to this, but there's two really kind of ways that I like to trick myself. Number one, I always give myself some sort of like treat or reward or something afterwards. I'm sure you knew I was going to say this. I'm like, I think there's cake balls in here after this.
Yeah, there are out in the lobby.
I always give myself that like little external, I sometimes need that extrinsic motivation to like get the thing done. So if I have to do all of these like plans I was just talking about, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm going to give myself 1 hour to complete as many as I can. And at that hour, I'll get my coffee and my treat, or I'll go for a walk around the block. That's can be a rewarding thing for me and my dog, like
Mm-hmm.
those kind of like little rewarding things. Then there can also be the 5, 10, 15 rule. Those are just minutes. And I just utilize what the task specifically is. So for example, if I am not motivated to work out, I use the 5-minute timer for someone that, is needing motivation. I'll be like, all right, I'll set a 5-minute timer. I'll just start moving. And at that 5-minute mark, I'm like, not feeling it anymore. Cool. I did it for 5 minutes. If at that 5-minute, I'm like, I actually feel pretty good. I'm going to keep going. I'll just keep going. What about you?
I like both of those. Well, I also want to tag on like the bigger instance thing too.
For sure.
Just as someone who's gone through like long seasons of depression and like multiple big losses and like grief moments in my life. It's when that question came through, I was actually thinking about it a lot because I was like, oh, what did I do? Like when I was in really multiple like deep grieving seasons and stuff. And funny enough, like the first big loss I had in grief, I did like the typical thing of just like completely shutting down and really like failing to take care of myself in like all regards, right? So like you said, like always check in. What do you need to take care of yourself? Like the basics, food, sleep, do whatever else you need to do. But with time, what I started to realize was like actually movement, right? Not considering fitness, not like I'm trying to get swole, whatever it is, like just moving my body was one of the like biggest, I feel like, healing properties that I ever like found my way into during those grieving seasons. Mm-hmm. Because like what you don't move through your body just gets like stored and trapped and stagnant. And like all of the heavy emotions that come up during grief, like beyond sadness, the anger, the despair, all of it, like that's just going to sit with you if you don't like move and shake it out. And so like I actually then found that like walking was just like my therapy during seasons of like heavy grief and depression and all of it. And then from walking, I found yoga, and stretching. And then over time, I'd actually get back to the gym. But I just really, whenever I have people in my life that are going through seasons of depression or, grief and loss and all of that, like I just I kind of like nudge them like to make sure you do include some movement, you know, like get outside, get for a walk, like move your body and like get all of that like flowing out of you, you know?
Yeah.
So I did want to like say that bit because I know it can be hard, but like it just, I mean, you know, walking is just like the saving grace. So that's for that.
Wait, sorry, I'm going to stop you real quick because that was awesome. And thank you for sharing that. You said that you've had 2 experiences. What was the second experience like with grief?
With grief? At that point, I was already like an avid runner. I loved walking because I'd learned through my first big loss as like a kid that, oh, movement makes me feel better, you know? And I would walk. I then started to run. I would play like bowling on the Wii. You know, I just did anything I could to get my body moving.
Right.
So then by the second one, I already knew that would help me. So the first few days after it happened, I definitely felt the like immediate shutdown of grief.
Yeah.
But then I just remember like getting back on the trail for the first time and like walking, running, and just feeling like I was coming back to myself through movement.
Yeah.
And then there are, you know, like other instances after those 2 even. And every time like movement has just become my like saving grace through it. You know, and not anything extreme, but just gentle movement that like gets the body going.
Yeah. And I love that you said that when you don't move, it kind of just like sits there because that's so true, right?
Yeah. And then, you're just like sitting with a lot of heavy thoughts and emotions and stuff. And definitely there's times where you can like just sit and relax and maybe watch Netflix or like, you know, find other ways where you can kind of get out of your mind. But I do feel there's something so powerful about movements, especially in those times and seasons of life. Big moments. I just big urge to anyone that might be needing that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So then the motivation on like a daily basis.
I'm a big reward girly.
Cool.
Similar to you.
Love it.
Like, let me work for an hour and then after that, little walk around the block, you know, I'm the same way. Or I get my like afternoon tea or what I like put on a song and dance, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then sometimes within that 1 hour, I'll just do like 25-minute blocks, you know, and I'm like, okay, let me get 25 minutes done. But I like that idea of even starting with like 5, 10 minutes, because sometimes I feel like that would be even better for me than saying like 25, you know, like starting really small and working my way up from there.
Yeah.
So I do that. And then I think also just like I'll try to, if I know I have like a big day coming up where I need to get things done and I'm not feeling motivated from the start, I just try to like visualize how like nice and good I will feel at the end of the day.
Love it.
If I can get like these 3 main things done, right? And I try to set a priority list and then just like really tap into like how great it's going to feel at the end of the day to be like, okay, I got those 3 things done and probably the other 3 or 4 because I was just like on a roll at that point.
Yeah.
So I'll try to like future cast how good it'll feel to get those things done, you know?
The visualization of being like, okay, I'm visualizing myself on the couch watching Netflix. And go.
Yeah, right? And I'm just like, okay, that's what I'm working towards.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you're a reward girly too, though.
Oh,
great.
1,000%.
I love that.
I'm like, what little sweet treat do I have or drink or like thing can I do?
Yeah. But okay, I was thinking about the 5, 10, 15. It's a 20. It's a block. It's on Amazon. It's like you literally just choose the time that you want.
Oh.
And it's in a little alarm. That one helps me like get started, but it also helps me keep on track. So if I'm like, okay, a task is going to take me 15 minutes, but takes me 30 because I'm distracted and have 40 tabs open, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to start this 15-minute thing. And if I'm not done, like I almost like failed it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess it hadn't.
So that can help with that aspect too.
Got you. And then it's kind of like, okay, I'm getting it done in this time.
Yeah. This is the time you have. Go. It's almost
now.
like there's like a bomb going off and you're like, you got to run out of there.
It's like the minutes are counting down on it.
You can make it into like a movie or something.
Make it into a game.
Yeah. Gamify. Actually, gamifying is really helpful for motivation too.
Okay.
If someone likes video games or if they like watching movies like that or something, you can kind of gamify your workout or like getting you started to keep you going. It's almost like mini rewards as you gamify it.
Yeah, especially if someone's like competitive in any sense or whatnot for it. So last question.
What's your
opinion on working out while sick?
I had a couple clients actually asked me this. COVID was like going around this summer again, and I had a lot of clients getting COVID. Did you hear that too?
Yeah, more recently I heard that it was like going around again. I was like, what's happening?
First and foremost, how sick are you? Like sickness is like this huge scale of things, right? Like, so if you're snot running down your nose and you're sneezing, like don't go around people. Like that's just respect, right? If you are contagious in any sort of aspect, like do something at home. If we're talking about like going to a gym, if you're feeling like body fatigue and weakness, which like when I had COVID in 2020, that's immediately what I felt. I was like, I can't move. I feel so weak. That's obviously telling your body to not move and like actually just rest. But if you're like kind of feeling a sore throat coming on, or like you might be feeling sick and you still want to work through it, cool. Work through it. Don't go as hard as maybe like you can possibly go. Maybe this is an RPE 10 week and you're like, no, I'm going to show up as a 6, and cool. That's great. You're still getting in your workout. But again, I would just say like, try not to go into places where other people are. If you can, like do the things at home, do more walks or get outside if you can. But I don't get sick a ton, knock on wood. But when I do, I actually do continue to move if I'm not like congested, or if I'm not feeling that body fatigue or weakness. What about you?
Same way. That's exactly what I was going to say. Like similar to what we were saying before, like I've found that it helps me feel better.
Yeah.
I feel like my body actually, I don't get sick often, but if I do start to feel it coming on, I'll like continue to go for my walks, yoga, like all of the things. And I feel like it actually keeps your like lymphatic system moving more and gets things flowing out. Because a lot of the times like the colds and stuff like that, like they just linger because the stuff's lingering within you. So I find like movement helps me like sneeze, like I get more out, especially if I'm congested or you're sweating, you're detoxing. So I love like, so long as I'm not contagious, like a mess, still working out, and I'll do it at home or I'll walk or whatever it is. But yeah, I have to be pretty down for the count to not be moving at all.
Yeah. And sometimes I actually forget about yoga. I saw you posted you were in a studio the other day. I'm like, I really enjoy yoga, but very specific times of year. Obviously, in the heat of the summer, it's a little bit harder to go to. But I like love a heated room, and I love yoga in a heated room, and I just feel like so good after I like sweat it all out.
Yeah,
that's how I feel like in saunas too, and I do feel like it really helps. Honestly,
if I'm like paying to go to a yoga class, it pretty much always has to be a heated class. Because I'm like, otherwise I can do this at home. But yeah, a good heated yoga class just hits sometimes. So.
Yeah. So I would say like to answer the question, it depends on how sick you are and how you feel. But like movement is good for you, like in general. And so I think there's just different scales of what kind of movement you do. But I would say just don't take it to a 10, take it to a 6 or 7.
Yeah. Listen to your body, see what's feeling good, and like use the timer thing, because sometimes you start and after 10 minutes, you're like, wait, I can breathe, like the congestion's clearing out. Maybe I'll keep going. Or your body aches start to like, your body warms up. So I think that tip, especially for if you're feeling kind of off, give it like 5-10 minutes and then see are you feeling slightly better or are you not feeling so great? And call it then. But
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we're about to go into like another cold season too, just because like the changing of the seasons. Also, neither of us are around kids. So kids obviously have a lot of gunk that they bring home with them. So trying to stay on top of that, trying to not get sick is water, sleep, stress levels, like making sure those are as balanced as you can. Obviously very helpful as well.
Give your immune system as much of a boost as you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Get it nice and strong.
Strong, like be a broad strong.
Yeah, broads. Well, that's a wrap on the 1-year anniversary episode, the official launch of Broads, and just so much more goodness to come.
Yeah. Oh, can't believe we're actually in the last quarter of the year too. Wild. Yes, thank you so much for being here, Emily. Of course, thanks for being such a great host/guest. Every time we do these, they're so much fun for me. And thank you so much for listening. Go leave us a really baller ass review. Baller ass. Do Gen Z still say that?
I don't. Dude, I'm millennial. I don't know.
Do you know what a Gen Z person told me? I was like, do people still say the vibes are lit? And he goes, no. the vibes are immaculate. So let's leave it on that. Thank you guys so much.
Immaculate. I love it.